welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do.
All right. My name is Mercy Mutisya. What I do or who I am.
Who are you actually? Who are you? Then we can go into what you do.
Yeah. I like to define myself as a perpetual learner. So I'm such a curious soul. I like experimenting with new things. I like learning new topics. And I think that is why I've been invited to this podcast, because what I used to do, or rather what I do, is I've worked in the filmmaking space for the last 7 years.
Okay.
I've worked with Philip TV, I've worked with Moonbeam, who are the producers of Savana Oulo, as a writer and an actor.
Oh, wow.
I have been in a couple of films, the latest one being, that was not even latest, A Grand Little Lie by Abel Mutua. And Antai Kantai, there was a Showmax show where I was a writer and an actor. And I was also the head writer for a show called 2K that is currently on NTV and also YouTube. I also host podcasts. But right now, my passion, or what I'm curious about, is the world of artificial intelligence. So basically, I like to say that I'm a writer and an actor exploring AI-powered storytelling.
I also need a fancy title. I guess maybe just diving into it, let's look into the creative process and collaboration when it comes to AI and the arts. So when we're looking at like real world collaborations and sharing stories, how are you able to capture like the mainstream aspect of it? What are the things that you have to look for when you're building onto that? Or how did you even get into this AI space to start with?
How I got into the AI space. So in 2022, it's funny because we were just vibing about working in the freelance space and the anxiety that comes with not being sure of where your next check is going to come from. I think in 2022, I really got tired of having to wait on producers to honor their end of the deal and pay you on time. And I wanted to transition to an industry where I could make the chums that I was seeing my peers making. So a friend of mine was visiting from Korea, and he's a software engineer, and he was teaching me how to code. So I found myself within that ecosystem. And it was around this time that one of the former board members of OpenAI was on The Daily Show, and she was launching DALL-E 2, which was the first, I think, image generating software that was put out there. AI image generating software, and now ChatGPT. And they really spoke about this AI thing, and I was like, what is this thing? And my friend was like, you don't know about artificial intelligence? And I was like, what is that? I was like, haven't you watched Iron Man? Jarvis? And I was like, what, a robot that talks? Like, no, so there's this thing called artificial intelligence that has been in development for decades now, and it's being launched. And I was like, hold up. So I started doing research. I fell into the rabbit hole, and I've been down there for the longest time now. I didn't crawl myself back up. So I started doing research on tools, and I think I've stuck to researching till now. I was experimenting with filmmaking tools. They're not yet great, but they've gotten better over a span of just 1 year.
I've seen some people who edit podcasts using AI, and it's mad fast.
Yes. And if you follow the Will Smith eating spaghetti videos, like that's what we're calling the Turing test in the filmmaking AI space, where when we first started the video of Will Smith eating spaghetti, and then now the 2024 version of him eating spaghetti, it's getting better and better and better. And the tools are actually right now really, really good. With the latest one, I think, being Google's VO2, which is just spot on when it comes to generating videos.
Okay, I guess, and then that brings me to the question of, considering that a lot of, obviously it's a learning platform, right? AI on its own. It's like it's a continuous learning situation, right? How are you able to preserve like an artist's style without it looking so similar to other creatives that would be in this space as well?
So what I would say is I'll start with a general perspective and then narrow it down to the individual artist. If you look at brands like Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola last year, they came under fire because their advert was generated using artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But they were able to maintain the brand identity. Like if we didn't know about the existence of AI,
right,
you would look at the video and you wouldn't see any difference from this advert, the Coca-Cola Christmas advert, from the one that was there in 2023, 2022, because they managed to retain the brand identity. However, but now if we narrow it down to the individual, I believe there's a lot of experimenting that needs to happen for those who are looking to transition into AI filmmaking or AI artistry. There are tools like Midjourney, where you can experiment with various styles,
right,
and you can blend various images and put them together and come up with your own identity.
Yeah.
You can even generate your own code, and that's what you're using. So a lot of people, especially, I'm seeing this a lot with creators abroad, where they're able to come up with a code that is going to be their specific artistic style. So it's a little bit, it's not a code in terms of a generic or very technical thing when I say code. It's like an SREF, like the M-Pesa code you get when you do transaction, like that is only the code you get up there.
Right.
So a code like that, you generate it and that becomes your specific style.
Okay.
So it just comes from a lot of experimenting, and then you find something that aligns with your brand and then you stick to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can patent these things? Like just generally, because you've spoken a bit about the Coca-Cola like ad as an example.
Yes.
But is there a way you can sort of just maintain an artist's integrity as well, outside of giving them a signature style and like developing their own like brand and portfolio?
So integrity is a very interesting word to use, especially in the AI space, where if we're to look at the history of it and how it came to be, especially generative AI, and as someone who uses it, I acknowledge that it's very predatory because they used data and like they used artists' work to train these large language models on how to generate images. I think when people were starting to use it in 2023, there was a lot of backlash where you could generate an image and then it even came out with a signature.
Right.
Like when you generate and then you're seeing a signature down there, and people were like, you see, you actually used someone's work. And a lot of artists were boycotting it, which I understand. So when it comes to patenting, platforms like Midjourney or even Leonardo AI, these are image generating platforms. Right. If you have paid for the platform, if you have paid to use Midjourney, they say that you can use it commercially. You can use the images commercially. You can sell it. So I think maybe you can patent the code, because unless you share the code with the world, people are not going to get your code. However, they can still take it. If you post it online, you've posted it for public use, right? And since you signed the terms of agreement without reading all those terms of agreement on social media.
Putting it on GitHub, it's a wrap.
And anywhere, like someone can download it. There's a describe feature on AI where I go and I'm like, describe this image, and then it gives me a prompt. And voila, I have your style. So it's a lot of copy pasting. It's a lot of intelligent stealing. Just the way you used to say that artists steal other artists' work intelligently. That's what AI is doing. It's basically intelligently stealing your work.
So how would you look at it in terms of legal and ethical as well? Like what are the considerations that you'd have to, or the best practices that you'd have to look into when you're like in such a situation, your work is being intelligently stolen? What are the considerations that you should look at when doing that?
Legally speaking, I'd say right now it's a little bit, is it too late? I don't even know how to put it. If let's say I'm a writer and my work is out there, maybe on a blog or somewhere, and there's a signature style. Let me give an example of someone like Trevor Noah. There's a signature style to his humor, or Cat Williams, or Dave Chappelle. And these are works that are out in the public domain. So if let's say right now I'm to go on ChatGPT and be like, give me a joke about grass and telescopes in the style of Dave Chappelle. it has studied Dave Chappelle's style
Yeah.
and pattern, and it's going to give me a joke in the style of Dave Chappelle.
Wow.
But then you see, that is very generic. It's not Dave Chappelle delivering the joke. That's why you come and ask yourself, can you really separate the art from the artist? If I was to tell Dave Chappelle's joke, would it slap the same as if Dave Chappelle was to tell it? So
what you ordered and what you got.
exactly. So when it comes to legal, I would say that for all of us, especially artists, right now it's time to really learn about how these public domains work.
Right.
It's time to learn about how before you post something on social media, what does that mean? Before you post on YouTube, because they can use this data however they want. They can sell them to ChatGPT or OpenAI and Google and whatever, and they use it however they want.
Yeah.
But when it comes to ethical considerations, a lot of actors right now in Hollywood and even globally are saying that they forbid their images to be used or their work to be used.
Right.
And if you have the firepower to do that and the money to do that, I guess why not?
Yeah.
Why not be like, delete my digital footprint, which is really hard.
True.
And I do not allow OpenAI or any other large language model to use my data to train their models.
So it's really about reading the fine print and really reading through those terms and conditions. Don't just accept the term.
Don't just accept the terms.
All right. Okay. So the duality of AI is that it's disruptive. One, it will, what's it called? It would essentially take over a lot of the jobs that we have.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily give you that human element that everybody's looking for, that other people insist cannot be replaced. When speaking on that duality, on it being disruptive as well as a space for new opportunities, what would you say your thoughts on that is? What would you say your thoughts on that are in terms of the duality of it being disruptive and also a space for it to bring new opportunities for guys?
Okay, I'll start with the human touch, the human element.
Yeah.
I view AI as a tool. I don't view it as competition because, like I asked, if I am to tell Dave Chappelle's joke, would it slap the same as Dave Chappelle is to tell it?
Right.
You know, I think it all boils down to the age you're entering. We've left the information age where there's so much information out there into the intelligence age.
Right.
And now what people are asking is, what is intelligence? How are you playing the game right now? The game has changed, so how do you play it?
Absolutely.
We cannot use the script that our parents used. We cannot use the scripts from the 90s or early 2000s right now to succeed. In a time when information is out there and anyone can be creative, how can you be the purple cow?
Right.
You know, how can you stand out? How can you use these tools to stand out? And with regards to it being disruptive, I'd say yes, because capitalism and the corporate world doesn't really care about you. It cares about getting the job done. It cares about
bottom line.
Exactly. If, say, I have an agent right now in the AI space, people are talking about agents, which is what is going to be very disruptive in 2025.
Absolutely.
Why will I need a PA? If I can tell my laptop, send an email to this person and this person and this person, and then after that do this, this and that, and it does all that without human interaction. All I have to do is supervise. Then I get to save that money that I would have saved. I would have paid someone to do every month.
Absolutely,
you know, so it is going to be disruptive. However, with regards to creating job opportunities, that's when people are being asked to not only learn the easy things in AI, because anyone can use ChatGPT.
Absolutely.
You know, anyone can use these chatbots to prompt. What is the hard thing that you're learning? Can you program your own agent? And right now, it's not easy to do. I'd say this is the time to learn the difficult thing.
Absolutely,
that everyone is ignoring. The things that are looking scary. Take your time and learn them. I'm challenging myself despite having a very right brain, creative mind. It's taking me years to understand the world of technology, but I am doing it because I understand the world we're headed into, and easy won't cut it. You really have to stand out. There really needs to be something different and special about you, and I believe everyone is different and special. So how are you using AI? Are you using it the way everyone is using it? Because then you're not standing out.
Right.
What is so different and unique about you?
Wow,
So I think that's where people should start really, really, really focusing on.
It's interesting that you say that because it touches on my next question, which has to do with the future landscape of what AI and art looks like. Not even just art, actually, maybe just the creative, culture and creative space. How is it evolving? Because obviously you have to be a continuous learner. You have to continuously be curious in terms of the things that you want to learn about the program. How to code if that's necessary as well. So what does the future of AI look like in the creative space?
I would say right now there's just a lot of speculation because no one knows tomorrow, and the market or rather the world right now is very difficult to predict. I will never ever ever ignore the human touch, the human element.
Absolutely.
So even if I'm using AI to make art, to make films, to make images, to make if I just leave everything to AI, like you said, it's generic, it's there is a lack of uniqueness to it that makes me want to watch, because I'm not watching when we watch a movie where, or rather, even let me contextualize it in Kenya. When we watch Abel Mutua's channel, we're not watching it because of the story.
Right.
We're watching it because of Abel's personality.
Yeah.
Right? So the future is still values like authenticity, creativity, standing out. Those still stand.
Yeah.
The shortcuts won't cut. Like, of course, you have to be mjanja.
Yeah.
Ujanja lazima ikue.
Yeah.
But with regards to making music or making films or telling story, there has to be something that is very different, unique, and also touches the heart of the person.
Right.
Right now there is a lot of music creating software out there, but even when you listen knowing it's AI,
you see those elements that are not personalized to the producer, the artist, etc.
But for producers who are able to get inspiration from it and create something from scratch, it just touches your soul. Because I believe art stems from someone's identity, stems from your soul.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between art and commercial art.
Sure.
When you listen to generic commercial art where it's just a hit, within 2-3 years you've forgotten about it, and the classics that were made from the soul, those still stand. I don't think we can ever replace the heart, even using what type of technology. So it's basically how you use it. And the heart still remains.
All right.
Yeah.
If anything, what do you feel like we haven't talked about in regard to AI and art?
With regards to AI and art, what have we not spoken about? I would say maybe with regards to how the jobs world is about to change.
Oh, okay.
We're seeing a lot of disruption happening in the advertising industry. We've seen right now, I don't think you can drive 4 kilometers or even 3 kilometers in Nairobi without seeing an advert with AI images.
Yeah, since Safaricom, I've done a lot of that.
Yes, a lot of, again, corporate doesn't care. They care about getting the job done as cheaply as possible.
Yeah.
And there's so much worry amongst especially influencers, because what would stop agencies from building their own AI influencers and pages that can advertise? Because right now we use social media not to socialize but as advertising platforms. Right. What I would say is I think people should really go back to the drawing board.
Okay. How so?
The heart thing, a lot of people, if you study the pattern of most artists, when you start with the heart in mind, right? There's so much heart and passion and passion.
Yeah.
When money gets involved, something shifts. When the numbers grow, things shift.
Yeah.
Okay, so it becomes about production. You're always constantly in people's faces, whether you have content or not. It's all about production.
Absolutely.
We're seeing very few privileged artists who can take a break for 5 years and come back. The Kendrick Lamars, like, there are systems there that can help them take a break for 5 years, come back and work. So what I would tell artists right now, and even generally anyone who's willing to get into the art space, I would say don't compromise on the quality of your art. If you need to get something that will fund your art, do it. Because in the long run, invest in your art as you would in a farm.
Right.
Take your time and build it.
Okay.
There's so much rush right now to just put out things without thinking it through, just because people are chasing that anxiety.
Yeah.
I would say it's going back to the basics and digging in your heart and in your mind and trusting the process.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you need to get a job to fund your
bread and butter. It's gonna be a bit trickier.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit trickier, but I would say find something, even if you build a product that you sell that funds your art. Right now would be the time for people to do that.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because we just spoke about this before the session. And at Beaumont, we're trying to put out the creative industry as something that people can do full time and not look at it as a please get something that stabilizes you first or something that funds your lifestyle as you dive or like dip your toe into the creative space. So even with this Artful Strategies podcast, we're essentially trying to educate people on how to navigate this space, be it in entertainment, be it in creators, in creative in general, as well as the culture aspect of it. Do we have community support systems and all that? Like how do we establish that? What are the regulators or the tools or resources that we can have access to? Because we're really big on resources, platform, and community, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. How do you feel about that? Considering now you're in the AI space, you're also creative. What advice would you give a creative that's looking to get into the space that you're in, specifically, outside of, get your 9 to 5 and see what the bread and butter would look like? How would you, maybe a better question is, how do you make money in this space to ensure that you're able to sustain yourself, even to a small extent? Maybe your transport for the month, for example, and like these small guilty pleasures that you might indulge in here and there.
I've been fortunate enough to really network with production over the years. So the good thing about the compounding mindset is I take every interaction as an investment for the future, especially in the creative space. Because right now we've met, you know that I'm a writer, you know that I'm in the AI space, you know that I'm an actor. I don't know who you'll interact with in the next 2 to 5 years.
Absolutely.
So my strategy has been taking every interaction, especially in the artistic space, as an investment. Because it's not always about sending out the CVs or, I don't know, posting on social media. It's about human interaction with people.
Yeah.
So that has enabled me to be able to be in rooms or even get jobs somewhat consistently. And even if they're not consistent, if I get one big job, at least I'm able to stay 2 to 3 months focusing on my own passion projects that yield more. So again, you treat it like a farm. I throw a seed out there. Right now I've thrown an AI seed. These are now the results. I'm being invited to podcasts to speak. I am working on my own podcast, which is called the Tech Rapture podcast, by the way.
Selfless plug.
Yes, I have to. And these are seeds that you plant with time.
Yeah.
The reason why I was speaking about getting a job, especially if you're starting out, is because that's just one of the ways. I know that there's no easy.
Absolutely.
There's no easy. If someone is looking to be financially independent and do their gigs at the same time, and you're not yet an influencer getting brand deals, what would you advise them? Like that now is for me to ask you who is trying to figure this out, because I think you have more experience and more data on how to do that. Because I've been trying to figure out how to do that. How to become, I'm not an influencer.
Absolutely.
Okay? I am a freelance writer. And it's the most unstable kind of job to have. Like, it's the most unstable way to live. There's so much uncertainty and anxiety that comes with it. I just have to trust that I've put myself out there enough for someone to think about me in the rooms. And when they're not doing that, that's when Ajituma, I post, I remind people that I do this. Absolutely, my work has won an award. Give me a job. And
Please, I'm begging.
Exactly, and it's full of anxiety.
Yeah.
But if now you and the agency have figured out how to do that, I think the question you should be advising me on the things that I can do.
But it's really about like what you said. It's networking and positioning yourself as a brand, and also thinking of yourself as a business is what we tell a lot of our talent here at Vermont.
Right.
For the most part, yeah, branding yourself as a business rather than looking at yourself as just a creative or as an individual who does this art. You need to be able to say, listen, I have my career ready, I have my business registered, of which I advise do not register your name as your business, because if you sell it, who's going to take that over, you know?
Gotcha.
And yeah, the content and the stories that you tell online, how are you interacting with people? Then again, you've also mentioned a lot of networking and, you know, interacting with a lot of spaces. Yeah, I think for the most part, that's the starting point we're at right now. So you're on the right path. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Are there any closing thoughts that you might have for the folks out here, for the Artful Strategies team?
I'd say stay curious. I'd say we're headed towards a future where you can't just be one thing. So whatever you've been curious about doing, I think we're in the age where it's easier, especially with AI, to learn new things, get it to do things for you. Jobs like software engineering apparently are really on the line.
Yeah.
And right now, if you learn how to use some tools, you can build an app in 2 days or in a week if you're not an experienced.
Actually, I have some friends in tech who develop websites within like 4 hours and then take like 2 weeks to.
Exactly.
And then they say, these are my hours, the price is the price, you know? So AI has really helped with the evolution of that as well.
Yeah. So you don't really have to be employed. Right now, it's so easy to pick up a skill because like creatives are smart.
Yes.
Like the ability to be able to fish something from your brain and put it out there and people see it and understand what was happening in your mind.
Yeah.
That's another level of genius. So if you are able to take that time and learn an extra skill,
right,
it's the easiest time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's a conversation I was having yesterday that was, there's one quote that this person said. He said, talent can only get you so far, but ensure that your skill backs up your talent in order for you to be sustained in that space that you want to be in. Yeah. And I think maybe that's something everybody can take away from exactly what you said.
Exactly.
Take up a skill and make it make sense for you. Yeah. When the money comes in, don't forget us.
Yes.
Well, Mercy, thank you so much for being on the Artful Strategies podcast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting me. I've learned so much even from talking.
I love it. All right.